Welcome to the video on sensuality and aesthetics in Tantra. Most of this video is based on the work of Abhinavagupta, who is a brilliant Kashmiri sage who lived in the 10th to 11th century CE, whom I referred to in the previous section on the Pratyabhijna lineage of Shaktashaiva Tantra. In addition to being a tantric master initiated into several different lineages, Abhinavagupta was renowned for his work on aesthetics. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, Abhinavagupta writes about how a yogin who is established in samadhi, but who has not yet reached final liberation, can hasten their spiritual progress by juxtaposing sense withdrawal, pratyahara, with sensual indulgence. Pratyahara is one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, which we discussed in our previous chapter. This is a method or a technique involving drawing the senses inwards so that you are no longer aware of external objects, but rather you are focusing awareness back in on awareness itself. This process of sense withdrawal is very effective for promoting entrance into nirvikalpa samadhi, this non-conceptual state of meditative absorption, which could also be referred to as ego death. It's a dissolution of the limited mind and the limited personality in universal energy, consciousness, and bliss. However, that stage of liberation, that dissolution of the individual identity, while being the final goal in certain forms of yoga, is a step on the way to liberation in Tantra, where it's not about escaping embodied existence, but rather going through this process of spiritual death and rebirth. So through the dissolution of the limited identity, then you can be reborn and re-embodied in a liberated state where you are aware of the divine consciousness, bliss, and energy that is present in each and every moment. So for people who are living in the world and who have jobs and families, it's impossible for them to always have their senses withdrawn. Maybe somebody might have a yoga practice where they practice withdrawing the senses for a few hours every day at most, but then they have to go to work and they have to take care of their families and participate in other kinds of social activities. So it's not ideal for somebody in that kind of situation to totally abstain from sensual indulgence. However, at the same time, sensual indulgence and sense craving, as we've discussed in previous sections, can lead to suffering and addictive patterns of behavior. So these two aspects of spirituality, sense withdrawal and sensual indulgence, have to be balanced with each other to create a balanced, holistic system of spiritual practice. Some of Abhinavagupta's work focuses on rasa theory. Rasa is a Sanskrit word which literally means juice or flavor in everyday usage, but which can also refer to an aesthetic sentiment which is evoked by a particular beautiful object or work of art. When you are observing something that is aesthetically stimulating, whether that is something in nature or something that an artist has created, that work of art evokes an emotion. That emotion is not exactly the same as rasa. There are everyday emotions, which are the immediate reactions and instinctual feelings that we have in response to stimuli, like happiness, anger, things like that. And then by savoring and chewing on the emotion, it's like the juices within the emotion get released. The energy of the emotion is gradually refined. And this essence of the emotion, this refined, digested juice of an emotional state, is rasa. So Abhinavagupta and other Indian philosophers listed 9 rasas. Those are eroticism, comedy, wrath, compassion, disgust, terror, heroism or inspiration, astonishment, and peacefulness. Each of these rasas is related to a particular emotion, and then when that emotion is chewed on and savored, then it is transformed into the rasa. For example, laughter, when it is savored and digested and extended over a long period of time, becomes comedy, or anger becomes wrath, sadness becomes compassion, and so on. And then these rasas, these refined essences of emotional states, act like a spiritual mirror for awareness and facilitate the reflection of awareness back in on itself, so that one may become aware of the all-pervasive energy, consciousness, and bliss that exists within all things in each and every moment. It is taught within the Prajna lineage of Shakta Shaiva Tantra that the senses are Shaktis, they are goddesses, they are energies which flow through the sense organs. When we dream or we think about things, or we imagine things, then those same sense goddesses, those same energies are active, but they're not flowing through the sense organ. They're not flowing through the physical apertures in the body, but rather they are creating or sensing subtle representations of external objects, basically. When these sense goddesses are starved, as they can be in some ascetic traditions, then they are unable to facilitate this unification of the individual identity and awareness with the universal consciousness in quite the same way, which is why this juxtaposition of sense withdrawal and sensual indulgence is so important in certain tantric lineages. Now, works of art combine many diverse elements to create a unified experience within an observer. For example, in a stage play, there are actors, there are musicians, there are elements on the set, and all these different elements of the play come together to create a story and to evoke certain kinds of emotions in the audience. Different art forms, different works of art are aimed at different kinds of goals and are created with different purposes in mind. Certain works of art are created for the purpose of what's called drishtapala, which means visible fruit. That means that those works of art are primarily created for the purpose of pleasing an audience. So most commercial works of art and popular art forms are primarily geared towards drishtapala. There are also spiritual art forms which are primarily aimed towards adrishtapala, which means invisible fruit, which means that that particular work of art is designed or created in a manner which is supposed to help to lead one's individual awareness back into this sense of unification with the whole of reality. So certain works of art are aligned with spiritual principles which facilitate the refinement of emotions into rasas more effectively than works of art which are primarily designed for entertainment. And we will explore in the practice video for this section how to focus on a sensual experience in order to facilitate the dissolution of the contracted sense of self into this unified field of energy, consciousness, and bliss. Om.